So zoology, microbiology, antibiotic resistance, and that wider impact on people and society, so the kind of major global grand challenges. So that point around having a real-world impact and application of kind of diverse science and engineering activity, having a genuine impact on people's lives. So please let me hand over to Dr. Emma Hayhurst, who's our second speaker.
Hello, I'm Emma, and I am in no order of priority a scientist, a mother, a businesswoman, a nature lover, a wife, a daughter, and a sister. I'd like to thank Technocamps for inviting me to speak today. It's an honour to share the stage with such inspiring people. It's pretty disconcerting to be asked to speak about yourself to so many people, and I have to admit, I racked my brains for quite a long time trying to think of what to say. I decided to tell my story through 10 lessons that I've learned along the way, in the hope that some of what I say may resonate with some of you. So here goes, and excuse the notes, I've had a really busy week and I am definitely not confident enough speaking about myself to do it without notes. Right. So, lesson 1, it's okay not to have a clue. I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was young. I had no eureka moment and no childhood passion which led me directly to where I am now. At various points in my childhood, I had shallow and transient passions for flying, for horses, for Lego, and shallow and transient dreams of becoming a fighter pilot, an actress, a zookeeper, a jockey. In other words, I really didn't have a clue. But that's okay. To quote the great Baz Luhrmann from the brilliant song Sunscreen, don't feel guilty if you don't know what you want to do with your life. The most interesting people I know didn't know at 22 what they wanted to do with their lives. And some of the most interesting 40-year-olds I know still don't. Lesson 2, small is beautiful. I'm a microbiologist, and I couldn't imagine being anything else. Wherever my career leads me, and however far I get from the lab, I will still remain a microbiologist at heart. Despite having no real idea of what I wanted to do, I kept accidentally doing biology. I didn't particularly enjoy science at school. I blame my teachers. I have no fond memories, in fact, not many memories at all, apart from cutting open an eyeball in biology, role-playing a molecule in chemistry, and being told off for putting a sieve on my head in physics. I'm not really sure why I took biology A-level, but I did. My only memories of that time is painting woodlice with Tipp-Ex, poor things, and being a conscientious objector to the rat dissection we had to do. My other A-level choices were psychology and performing arts, with a view to doing what, I really don't know. In Upper 6, when looking at university courses, I had sudden inspiration. I learned to scuba dive when I was 12. I loved the ocean, I adored swimming. I'd be a marine biologist, except I couldn't be, because I hadn't done chemistry A-level. So I settled on zoology because I loved animals, and I chose the University of Sheffield because I loved the trams. After a gap year spent mostly in Africa, I started my course and hated it. I discovered zoology was actually most about dead animals, and I wasn't so keen on them. I had decided after spending some time on the mighty Zambezi in Zimbabwe that my true calling was a whitewater raft guide, so I joined the canoe club, thinking it would further my career. However, towards the end of my first year, we had a module of microbiology taught by a lecturer called Milton Wainwright, and it blew my mind. I had no real idea about the invisible world that surrounds us. Microbes are everywhere. They're in our air, our water, our soil, our guts. They're on our skin, on our teeth, in our houses. They quite literally make the world go round. They are responsible for all the major geochemical cycles. They make our air breathable, our world habitable. Yes, they make us ill, but we wouldn't be here without them. And we're only just beginning to understand their impact on our bodies. We knew we lived in a microbial world, but we are also microbial people. Microbial cells outnumber our own. There are about 38 trillion of them living in an average human. They impact our odour, our diet, even our mental health. I was hooked. So I changed. I got onto a microbiology degree through the back door, and I've never looked back. Lesson 3. Keep a focus on what matters. I remember a moment when I had finished my PhD and I was working on my first postdoctoral research position. I was sitting in a windowless room deep in the bowels of Sheffield University, looking down an incredibly powerful microscope at some bacteria which I'd blown up, trying to understand how they were made. This was the focus of my research, the structure and dynamics of bacterial cell walls. I was sat there and I had sudden clarity that I could do the work I was doing until I was 80, and it would be very academically interesting, and I would sound very clever when I spoke about it, but it wouldn't impact the world in a positive way at all. Not one single person would benefit. And I thought, I can't do this. I need to make more of a direct difference. I'm not against pure academic research at all, but I think we should have an 80-20 ratio. 80% of our research should be solution-driven and applied, and 20% should be completely for its own sake, to learn. Then we'll still make the accidental discoveries that may become important in the world one day in the future, but we can also put the talent and skills of our academics to work solving some of the really pressing challenges we currently face globally. This is what happened during COVID. It became the #1 focus of everyone in the research world, and look what we achieved in such a short time. The speed of development of COVID diagnostics and COVID treatment was unprecedented, because the whole world stopped what it was doing and focused on solving the problem. Imagine what we could achieve if the same was true for, say, climate change, biodiversity loss, poverty, water and sanitation, or antimicrobial resistance. For me, that drive to make a difference took me out of the microscope lab and to the University of South Wales to teach and to do applied research. I loved teaching. I loved seeing the impact it was possible to have on students, and every thank you card or email I've ever got from any student is so precious. I know some of my students have gone on to work in microbiology and other STEM careers, and I'm so proud of their success and of the very small part I might have played in supporting them along the way. I stayed at the university for nearly 15 years. I left last October to focus full-time on my next adventure, starting and running my own diagnostics company. More on that later. Lesson 4, challenge yourself. I was going to use the term imposter syndrome for this slide and talk about how we all have it. But when I was searching for a copyright-free image of imposter syndrome that I liked, I came across an article which had a real issue with the term, because the problem is not you and your imposter syndrome, it's the system. And if you happen not to be a white middle-class male, then the system can make you feel like an imposter. I completely agree, but I also think that almost all of us, white middle-class men included, do suffer from a form of imposter syndrome. One of the only people I can think of who seems supremely confident that everything they do is good enough is Donald Trump. And I'm not sure he's a big role model. And I think that some of the worst types of leaders are those who are so afraid that they're not getting it right that they become defensive and angry. I've come across plenty of those in my time. So I've redefined this lesson to a more positive challenge yourself. Not just that, but talk about your challenges. Don't pretend everything is easy. Embrace the fear and admit the weaknesses. For me, overcoming the fear of not being good enough has been an almost constant backdrop to my career. I don't say no to the things that scare me. I say yes, and then spend far too much time freaking out about my decision. A lack of confidence can be paralysing, and I think it's something still not talked about enough, especially for women coming back to work after a career break. In my own story, I had my 2 kids in 2011 and 2014, and for a few years my job took a bit of a back seat. I worked part-time and much of my energy went on my young family. I came back to research in 2016 when I applied for and won a national research fellowship, specifically aimed at people who had a career break, and it was aimed to kickstart their research again. We were all women and all mums. I can't overstate what a difference that grant made to me. Without it, I don't think the rest of my journey would have happened. It was only a small amount of money, but it gave me enough headspace to think about research again, and it gave me such a boost in confidence that someone had thought me worthy of it, when I had all but written myself off in the world of research. We still have such a leaky pipeline in STEM. Loads of women entering the profession, but not so many staying. I've seen it myself watching talented female colleagues leave the profession because they couldn't make it work. The impact a lack of confidence has shouldn't be underestimated. I remember attending my first conference after returning to research. I wasn't even presenting, and yet I felt like I didn't belong there. I've gone from that to being invited to speak at these events now because I didn't allow my imposter syndrome to win. So challenge yourself. Take yourself out of your comfort zone. I used to hate public speaking. When I had to do it at university, I went bright red and nearly cried every time. I'm here doing this today, not because I've always found this kind of thing easy, but because I've pushed my boundaries and slowly grew my comfort zone. This picture, by the way, is me doing my first triathlon last summer. I'd always wanted to do one, but was terrified I'd come last. I didn't. I came about 4th last, and I'm so proud of that. My daughter's in the picture too. She, my son, and my husband came to cheer me on. I love the fact that watching me do that kind of thing helps my kids to see that it's okay to take part and not win. In fact, it's okay to take part and come last. It's better than not taking part at all. Lesson 5. Innovation is just creative problem solving. I'm an inventor, a bona fide official inventor. It's down there on a patent application. The machine that you see in this picture is our molecular diagnostics testing platform. It didn't used to exist, and now it does, because me and my colleagues invented it. The idea behind it was to make a diagnostic test which was affordable, portable, and easy to use. We wanted to help get diagnostics out of the laboratory and to the point of care. We wanted to do this because good diagnostics are essential for good treatment decisions. You can reduce overdiagnosis, which is where you give antibiotics unnecessarily, and you can reduce underdiagnosis, which is where an infection is missed and a patient isn't treated and might get worse. We made this machine, and the first infection we focused on is urinary tract infections, or UTIs. UTIs are a neglected disease. Despite the fact that nearly 50% of women will get one over the course of their lifetimes, despite the fact that they really hurt, despite the fact that up to a quarter of the women go on to get recurrent or chronic complications, and despite the fact that they are a leading cause of hospitalisation, sepsis in the elderly, no good diagnostic tools exist for UTIs. It's part of the ingrained inequality in our healthcare system. Women with UTIs have traditionally been dismissed by doctors. Oh, it's just a UTI, or just wash your bits better. A complete myth. With this test, we hope to address this unmet health need and improve UTI diagnostics and the lives of patients. And I'm pleased to say that about 3 weeks ago, we got regulatory approval for this test, so it's just about to launch on the UK market. So this is the purpose of my business. This is what drives what we do. What I do now combines 2 of my passions, microbiology and healthcare, and allows me to apply my expertise to bring something useful to the world. I always used to picture inventors as people, men, if I'm honest, with crazy hair and big glasses, tinkering away in a garage, looking in test tubes and blowing things up. I am not that. I am someone who saw a problem and worked with other people to combine our expertise and come up with a solution. And that is what innovation is. It's not the man in the garage, it's people like you. People who care enough to make a difference and who can think differently enough to come up with something new. And this is why we need to make sure that our innovators are as diverse as we are. We are facing so many challenges, and we're not going to overcome them by trying out the same types of solutions made by the same types of people. We need people from all backgrounds to come forward and to use their own skills and experiences to come up with something new. Lesson 6. Some things still need to change. This picture is a business meeting from the 1800s, but to be honest, it could be a business meeting from this week. I thought academia was bad, but business is even worse. Businesses like mine need a large amount of investment because there's a lot of development work before you can start selling your product. And only about 2% of investment in early stage companies like mine goes to female founding teams, less than 20% to mixed gender founding teams. Female investors are really rare too. Why does this matter? Because females bring a different perspective. I've stood up when I was trying to get money into the company in front of an investment panel of 7 middle-aged white men to tell them how important it is to solve the problem of UTIs. None of them had ever had one, and they advised me to tone down the hippie and decided not to invest. To give you another example, I was recently on a panel with a number of other CEOs of businesses like mine. One of them was trying to develop something which would help prevent women from tearing when they gave birth. When explaining why he started the business, he said, When I found out that nearly 90% of women tear during childbirth and yet nothing exists to prevent this, I couldn't believe it. It was too good to be true. Of course, what he meant was he saw an opportunity to make money. And I don't doubt that he's a good person and that he wants to help women through his business, but we really need to change the narrative. It can be hard not to doubt yourself when the system is stacked against you, but things do need to change, and we need to be the ones to change it. It's time to think differently about business. No business should exist solely for the purpose of making money. Every business should have a societal or environmental benefit at its heart. We could solve so many of the world's problems if we just kept to that simple rule. I recently attended a boot camp for female business leaders, and I felt like I'd found my tribe. Every business story in that group started with, I saw a problem and I wanted to solve it, rather than I saw an opportunity to make money. This is clearly not a female-only trait, and the truth is that most men would rather use their lives to make a difference too. It's just we're all stuck in a system which rewards the wrong people for the wrong reasons. The only way to change this is to ensure that the people running the system are as diverse as we are. We're definitely not there yet. We feel we've come a long way towards equality, and we have, but in truth, we're still trying to fit into a system designed to suit the patriarchy. True equality is when we can all be ourselves and everyone be okay with that. I've been known over the years to occasionally cry at work, and I used to be so cross at myself for doing so, seeing it as a weakness. Not anymore. If I cry, it's because I care, or because the system is so wrong that it's making me cry with frustration. To quote from the brilliant recent Barbie movie, when one of the Barbies is presenting her views in the Supreme Barbie Court, this makes me emotional, and I'm expressing it. I have no difficulty holding both logic and feeling at the same time, and it does not diminish my power, it expands them. Lesson 7. Everyone else is messing things up too. It's easy to assume that the people you work with, or the people you admire, have it all sorted. They are nailing life. And that can make you feel inadequate, but it's not true. No matter what they say, everybody messes stuff up. My own mistakes are extensive and frequent. In my personal life, I'm on my second marriage, and even that one isn't perfect. Sometimes I shout at my kids. Sometimes I drink too much. Sometimes I eat too many packets of crisps. And sometimes I don't exercise enough. In work, I've made several appalling business decisions. I have days when I procrastinate, days when I waste my own time and probably everyone else's, days when I feel I've achieved nothing. My point is that's okay. In fact, it's normal. If you have a bad day, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start again tomorrow. Lesson 8. Slow down. I've had periods of my life when work has been so stressful that it's made me ill. This is not okay. We have one life and we are not defined by our jobs. There's so much more to us. We need to slow down. This picture, you can just about see me in the middle, is me indulging in one of my other passions, while swimming. Don't spend all of your time at work. Get outside. Don't lose the connection. I'm an advocate of a 4-day working week. I think we'd all be nicer people and not so quick to forget what's important if we had a bit more time outside of work. It's all about balance. No one ever got to their deathbed and wished they'd worked harder. If nothing else, make sure you take your lunch breaks. No matter how busy you are, you can always afford 10 minutes for a walk in the fresh air. You can't answer all of the emails all of the time. My mum's in the audience tonight, so is my sister. My mum has taught me many things. One that sticks with me is this. We used to live by the sea in Sussex. Mum used to get the bus to work every day. I remember her saying that every day, on her walk to the bus stop, she'd stop and notice. Notice the sea, notice the colour of it, notice the noise, notice the smell. And then she'd continue on her busy day. Her point was that you need to get pleasure in the small things. No matter how exciting your job is, most of life is mundane. We all have to fill in forms, we all have to put the washing on, we all have to make dinner. Life is not made up of the grand adventures, it's made up of the ordinary every day. So find the beauty in that. Stop and notice. And learn to say no, not just to the things you don't want to do, but also to some things you do want to do. Lesson 9, let your kids eat dirt. For this lesson, I had to go back to the microbes. They get a really bad press. Everyone knows they make you ill, and that has created a fear which is actually detrimental to our health. We need microbes. We do not need to live in a sterile world. Wash your hands after doing a poo. Yes, of course, that's really important. But don't be afraid to get a bit mucky. It'll do you and your immune system the world of good. My final lesson is enjoy the ride. This is me in a photo taken from my friend Nia's beautiful book on wild swim walks in South Wales, available from all good bookshops. I was one of her main swimsuit models and got to go on loads of amazing days out with her while she was writing the book. I love this photo because to me it represents a huge personal challenge. I spent years after having kids being ashamed of my changed body and not wanting to be seen dead in a swimsuit. And here I am in a book and choosing to put this image onto this massive screen. I am an accidental CEO. I haven't planned my journey, but I've got here through a combination of hard work, happy accident, and keeping focused on what's really important. I absolutely love my job, but if I hadn't ended up here, that would be okay too. And who knows where my journey will take me in the future. I want to end with another Baz Luhrmann quote. In fact, perhaps I should have just played this entire song instead of a bit of a talk. And for those too young to know the song, go and look for it and have a listen. Whatever you do, don't congratulate yourself too much or break yourself either. Your choices are half chances, and so are everyone else's. So on that note, I'll end. Thanks for listening, be useful and be kind.